It's 4:30 a.m., and my laptop's glow is the only light in this shoebox flat, casting shadows that mock my empty fridge. Fingers hover over apply, heart thudding like it knows better. It's 4:30 a. It's 4:30 a.m., and my laptop's glow, and my laptop's glow is the only light in this shoebox flat. Fingers hover, finger and cup. Scrolling Indeed for the umpteenth time, dodging entry-level traps that pay in exposure. Then it pops up. Night security, Blackthorn Manor, remote English countryside, £500, night. No questions. Isolated estate, candlelit halls, whispers of history. Sounds like a scam, but the pay desperation's siren song. I click. One decision. Decision. Great, and terrible. Great, and terrible. Army. Sounds like a scam. The fog rolls in as I pull up those creaking gates at dusk. What if the ad wasn't hiring help, but harvesting souls? Stick around. You might recognize your regrets in the dark. Look, if you've ever stared at a bank balance that reads like a bad joke overdraft fees stacking up like unpaid regrets, you get it. Mine hit 0 2 weeks ago, courtesy of one too many just this once takeaways and a freelance drought that made ramen gourmet. I know. Gourmet. Mine hit 0 gourmet. Bills piled like ghosts in the corner, whispering eviction every time the post clattered through. Adulting more like a slow-motion car crash where you're the only passenger. And terrible. Army. Terrible. Army. Bills piled. Guts. Whispering. Eviction. It pours. Air. Laughing bitterly at the airbag of denial. I leave. You leave. Sleep. Great. That's when the ad slithered back into my feed, that Blackthorn Manor gig. £500 a night for watching dust settle in some forgotten English pile. Isolated, shore countryside, so remote you'd need a seance to get Uber. But no questions asked screamed easy money. Or trap. Reminded me of that cursed subway night watch from last year. The one where the tracks hummed with voices that weren't human. Swore I'd never chase shadows for cash again, but desperation's a Heleva editor. Sound familiar? Hit like if you've doom-scrolled your way to hell. I packed a bag, fired up the rust bucket, and aimed for the moors. Folks in the village pub clammed up when I asked about the place, muttered something about whispers that follow you home. What kind of reputation sticks like that? The drive blurred into twilight's bruised purple haze, moors swallowing the road like a bad dream. Then, Blackthorn Manor loomed Victorian sprawl of ivy-choked stone, turrets piercing the fog like accusatory fingers. Gates groaned open on rusted hinges, a low moan that echoed my guts twist. Postcard, perfect golden hour. light gilding mullioned windows, promising tea by roaring fires, but up close. The air hung thick, tasting of damp earth and something metallic, like old coins. I crunched gravel to the oak door, knock swallowed by silence. It swung wide, revealing Mr. Hargrove gaunt as a raven, eyes like polished obsidian in a face etched with too many midnights. "Ah, the new watchman," he rasped, voice a velvet scrape. "Come for the quiet hours." Candlelight flickered in the hall behind him, throwing shadows that danced, rung elongated, hesitant. Portraits lined the walls, stern ancestors in lace collars, gazes tracking me like I owed them money or blood. We shook hands, his cool and papery. "Mind the drafts," he said, leading me through. "This place, ... holds echoes, old guests who never quite left. Casual, like small talk over biscuits." But his smile didn't reach those eyes, hinting at histories bricked up behind paneling, rituals etched in dust. What secrets did those portraits guard? I laughed it off, nerves jangling, as he handed keys. Settling in felt like burrowing into a too-warm bed-cozy isolation. Yeah, but the silence pressed, whispering that comfort's just the trap snapping shut. Hargrove vanished up the grand staircase like smoke, leaving me with a lantern, a ledger for incidents, and instructions scrawled on foolscap. Dust the long gallery, log the hourlies, stoke the hearths. Simple. The fire in the drawing room roared to life under my prodding. Flames licking polished oak paneling, casting a ruddy glow that turned the room into a sepia postcard armchairs plump as forgotten secrets. And terrible, and terrible, and terrible. Army, flames, flames, licking, polished, oak, paneling, casting a ruddy glow that turned the room into a sepia postcard. Brandy decanters, winking like old friends. Cozy, right. The kind of isolation that sells itself as therapy. I sank into it, dusting gilt frames with a feather duster that tickled like guilty conscience. Portraits stared back, ancestors with eyes too alive, lips curled in half smiles that said, "We know why you're really here." But then the whispers started, fretting through the crackle syllables, slurred by drafts, or so I told myself. Stay, ... Ghostly ASMR, I snorted, chuckling into the empty grate. Because nothing says adult milestone like bantering with thin air in a stranger's mausoleum. Ever felt watched, though? That prickle between shoulder blades. Like regrets got binoculars. Share below your stories might make mine seem sane. Hour 1 ticked by in the ledger, ink smudging under lantern sway. Footsteps echoed from the hall heavy, deliberate, pacing the runner like a caged thing testing bars. Wind, obviously. Hour, obviously. I go. Footsteps echoed. I shook it off, added another log to the fire, flames devouring it hungrily. But as the clock chimed 7, a door at the gallery's end, the one Hargrove swore bolted since, Victoria's, rain creaked, ajar. Not wind. Something colder slithered out, carrying the scent of wet earth and unspoken pacts. What rules does a place like this enforce on the night? Wind. Yeah, right. My pulse hammered otherwise. Curiosity's a bastard, the kind that tugs when you should bolt. In. Great. And terrible. Army. Wind. You didn't.
Hargrove's library branched off the gallery, oak shelves groaning under leather spines, air thick with mildew and forgotten ink. I edged in, lantern beams slicing dust motes like guilty secrets. Just a peek, I muttered, fingers trailing volumes, alchemical tomes, yellowed grimoires whispering of bindings no sane soul inks.
There, wedged behind a false panel that gave way too easily, the ledger. Bound in cracked morocco, gilt edges flaking like dead skin. I cracked it open on a reading desk, pages brittle as autumn leaves. Staff roster, Blackthorn attendance, 1782 present. Names scrolled in copper, plate maids, butlers, watchmen like Meech, entry trailing off into voids. Echo persists. Cryptic scrolls. Beside, pentacles etched in hasty quill, runes coiling like smoke's old binding rites, invocations to the forgotten, entities that hunger for the overlooked. The manor wasn't a home. It was a trap, a moor, for the desperate, the discarded, souls snared in cyclical shifts, feeding the wall's endless night. I barked a laugh, cynical, hollow picturing Hargrove's smirk. Smirk. Occult H.R. manual. Priceless. But it died fast. Throat closing as my light caught a fresh page. A name inked recent. Mine? Nah. Couldn't be scrolled before I even applied, initials mirroring my regrets. The whispers swelled then, night sounds ratcheting scratches in the rafters, sighs from the stack surging deeper, where the real bindings waited. The library's sighs clawed louder, a chorus urging me from the desk deeper into the stacks, where bindings weren't just leather. Great and terrible. Great and terrible. And terrible. Army, the library. Evie, chorus. Arby, chorus urging me. From the desk deeper into the stacks, where bindings weren't just leather. Great labor. Horrible. Terrible. I bolted. Evie, where I bolted. The ledger. Shit. But its weight. Lengen. Spick. Evie. 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 Get. Evie. Ever. Evie. Ever. 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 I fled to the kitchen, hands shaking as I boiled water, 4 tea Hargroves, parting gift, a tin of Assam that promised normalcy. Steam curled warm, amber liquid steaming in porcelain, chasing the chill with false hearth glow. Sipped it black, bitter as truth, telling myself shadows were just tricks of the lantern. Cozy ritual against the void, right. Like scrolling memes to dodge the abyss. But reality frayed at the edges. Shapes stirred in the corner elongated, familiar. Mum furs. Her silhouette by the AGA apron dusted with flour from that last Christmas before the cancer stole her laugh. Missed your call again, she murmured, voice a rustle of silk. Then Dad, pipe smoke phantom, nodding disapproval at my wasted potential. Lost loved ones, dredged from regrets, silt their eyes hollow accusations. Hallucinations. Or the manor's hooks, reeling in confessions.
Flashback hit like vertigo Hargrove's rasp earlier. The night listens, lad. Whispers what you buried. Best not indulge. More new. Casual as fog. Now a siren. I clutched the mug. Heed searing palms, but dread iced my veins, spreading like frost on glass. Ghosts, or just bad Wi-Fi guilt, pixels of the past glitching through isolation. Laughed, sharp and ugly dark joke to armor the unraveling.
You lot, if this is my last log voice crack into the empty room, but picturing you, screens agloat, my story right. Don't let it fade like them. The tea sloshed cold. Then, from the hall, a knock soft, insistent, not wind. A visitor, knocking from inside the walls, hungry for what I'd spilled. The knock bloomed into a frenzy fists now, pounding from within the plaster, rhythm like a failing heart. I dropped the mug, porcelain shattering in a spray of scalding shards, steam twisting into faces that leered. Shadows uncoiled from the corners, no longer mimics but feeders, inky tendrils questing, tasting the air thick with my spilled confessions. The rules ignited, regrets as paint, whispers as chains. They latched on, cold as grave soil, yanking me under. Vision swallowed me whole cyclical torment, unspooling in sensory flood. Slew floods. Gasps of past watchmen. There, please, echoing in bone-deep chill. Slew flood, mingling with rot from unburied sins. I thrashed through their loops, a maid clawing at locked doors, her screams curdling to dust. A butler begging shadows for one more dawn, only to reset at dusk. Faces blurred mine among them, eternal shift in this soul mill. Hargrove's laugh cut through, wet and gleeful. Twist hit like lightning, him enthroned in the gloom. Veins pulsing black, complicit curator of the feast. We all serve the forgotten, he crooned, eyes gleaming with stolen light.
Raw fear clawed my throat, laced with regrets. Acid burn, every buried lie devoured. It knew my secrets, the ones I hide from you all, the fractures you sense but never name. Lungs burning, I wrenched free, scrambling for the hall escape, a mad sprint through coiling dark.
Hallway blurred in my sprint, walls pulsing like veins, shadows nipping heels with icy teeth. Freedom's doorfront oak, dawn's sliver mocking through cracks loomed, keys jangling in sweat-slick grip. One twist, and out. More's waiting. Car keys in pocket, life reclaimed. Illusion shattered on the threshold. Echoes surged Hargrove's ledger voices, binding me. Eternal vigil for the ensnared, not escape, reset. The Mana's conspiracy, that occult web for the forsaken, looped me in night shift, bleeding into forever. Confessions the fuel, dawn just another dusk's tease. That AD, bait for souls like mine, scrolling voids for salvation. Worst part, the pay's direct deposit from hell, pinging regrets into eternity. You, crate, and terrible army. That AD, bait, bait, bait. Scrolls like mine. Scroll. AD. Wind. T. 8. Coup. 8. 8. Day. Breath ragged, I slumped against the frame, dreads tied, unresolved, pulling back to the fire's false warmth. What if your clicks next? What if your clicks next? And terrible army. Breath. 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 Breath ragged. I slumped against the frame. I slumped against the frame. Dreads tied unresolved, pulling back to the fire's false warmth. What if your clicks next? Dawn clawed through the casements. A pale lie bleeding gold over the moors, marking my stumble at the gates, gravel biting like fleeing teeth. I croar, engines growl, drowning echoes, tires chewing fog as Blackthorn shrank to a silhouette, cursed spire against the sky. Escaped. That's the cruel jest. The curse lingers, larger than stone. Isolation's the real feeder, turning solitude to snare, regrets to chains that loop eternal. One unguarded night, and you're the shift endless, whispering your buried shames. Like my subway case. Like my subway case. This one's worst. Deeper hooks, no third rail jolt. It's the mirror it holds, forcing truths you scrolled past. Is this video my warning or your invitation? Theorize in comments. What's your night shift nightmare? Drop it. Maybe sharing starves the shadows. Sleep tight. If you can. If you can. Cross.